Well, joining me in this segment here at Drinking on the Edge, our first entry from Portugal is Luís Cerdeira. Excuse me, is that correct pronunciation, Cerdeira?
It's perfect.
Oh,
Perfect.
my Portuguese,
Cerdeira.
Cerdeira. Ah, thank you for, no, it wasn't perfect, Cerdeira. My Portuguese can be good if I'm reminded correctly. Luís Cerdeira of Soalheiro, again, pronunciation probably not perfect, Soalheiro of the Minho region of northern Portugal. Joining me today, he's not at his vineyard, but in the backdrop here is his vineyard. Today he's in the capital city of Lisbon, making some sales calls. Welcome, Luís.
Welcome. Hello, good.
Okay. Now, in the wind-up to this, everybody, I was about to tell Luís that in my last time I was in Lisbon, I was there with my father, and not once but twice. We went to what is probably one of the most, if not the most popular seafood restaurants, everyday seafood restaurants, always lines out the door. You can have a beer from the dispenser out when you're queuing up outside. I forget the name of the place. You must know this place because...
Ramiro.
Of course. How do I know this? He must know it because they sell a heck of a lot of your wine there. We drank some of it when we were there, my father, Howard, and I, and enjoyed it tremendously with the delicious seafood that they had there. And, well, thank you for that, and thank you for the memories. You know, Luís and I reacquainted ourselves with one another not long ago. It was earlier this year, and we first had encountered one another when I went to visit to do a report on the region that he and his family live in and make their lovely white wines. Back in, I think it was 2011, and I wrote a column about this region, and in the one photograph that graced it was of myself, because it was my column, and you and your father, who has since passed. But can you share a little bit about what your father and subsequently you have helped to bring to the Minho region?
It's good memory. My father began planting Alvarinho in 1974. Then we are the first producers in Melgaço, a small town in the north point of Portugal. And we are located in one of the 9 sub-regions of Vinho Verde. In fact, the sub-region that is linked to Alvarinho origin, and where it's planted, round number, 75% of the total Alvarinho planted in Portugal. Really is huge. Monsfell in Melgaço, the name of the sub-region, is also linked to Alvarinho grape variety since long time. And my father is pioneer on this, when make vineyard in 74 on this location. As you see, by the data, it's not very far away. It means that the Monsfell and Melgaço and Alvarinho is the region with 100 years total, and the most famous Alvarinho in the world begin like 20 or 30 years before this moment now. In Soalheiro, we make 40 years this year, and really we are one of the oldest. And we believe now that more and more people know Alvarinho with a B and with a D.
Well, that brings me to the question, is there any difference between what they know across the river there in Spain as Albariño and what you have as the grape variety you just mentioned that's so dominant in the region, Alvarinho? Is there a difference between these two, or just different pronunciations?
It's in fact, it's the same grape.
Okay.
And the big difference is the terroir, the land. The big sub-region in Spain linked to Alvarinho is Rías Baixas, the global area, and Southeast area. Southeast represents more or less 80% of the total production in Rías Baixas of Alvarinho. And the Southeast is very Atlantic. It's very near. Cambados is very near to the Atlantic, like less than 1 kilometer.
Yes.
And when you look to our sub-region in Monsfell and Melgaço, we are far from the Atlantic, like 80 kilometers. And we are surrounded by mountains. In fact, it's a totally different climate.
Your altitude is higher as well. Not a lot, but your altitude is higher since you're more inland, correct?
And in fact, we have the altitude in the valley is around 100 meters, but In the mountain where granite, for example, is produced, it's 400 meters. Then this big difference of more continental climate, more Atlantic climates in Spain, makes that the malic concentration, the acidity concentration. Then usually Portuguese Alvarinhos don't do malolactic. Then always more freshness, more aromatic profile, more vertical aroma. And in Spain, usually less aromatic and a little more round because of the malolactic that it's done in some percentage.
Yes.
And this is a big difference.
Okay. Now, in your region, Minho, and you mentioned this in passing, it's the home of oceans of fresh, easy drinking, usually sometimes low alcohol and inexpensive Vinho Verde. And that's a simple, easy wine that everybody can understand and appreciate, and it doesn't take a lot of effort to make a decent, good bottle. So, why should the consumer pay attention to the more costly bottlings that you and your other better producers in the region are making this grape variety of Alvarinho?
It's a good reflection. Thank you. And in fact, the popular Vinho Verde, it represents more or less 80% of the volume. It's very linked to light and fresh wine with low alcohol, some carbonic acid. This is very typical in this wine, this carbonic feeling. And this is not a very strong wine in the tasting. In fact, our region, the Melgaço and in Cerdeira, we have different kinds of Alvarinho. And in this wine, we have a median body structure, different from the popular Vinho Verde. And also, we have a longer taste. For example, Alvarinho you can age like a Riesling for 20 years or more. And in the classic Vinhos Verdes, yes, this one is the one that you can age surely 20 years. I can prove that. And
I look forward to my next visit. I look forward to my next visit to challenge you on that point, Luís.
No problem. This is a good challenge. We can go through. And in fact, this is a big difference. When you speak about Alvarinho or subdivision, you need to put us in the global world of wine like Univel Clean, like Riesling, like Chenin Blanc. And this kind of family makes that really is very important for us to assume in Vinho Verde a top quality wine that don't have carbonic acid, okay? That don't have this profile of the freshness that came from the grass, but they have the freshness that comes from the acidity, from the real minerality that this wine has. And it's what makes famous a region, because this wine is distilled from time, but of course, because of the price, a little less friendly, but I think still friendly price.
Oh, these are not these. This
less
is
consumer.
well. This bottle that I was just showing in the camera here is not. I would qualify as an expensive bottle. This is something around, give or take a few dollars, $20 a bottle. It's a wonderful introduction to your family's wines of Soalheiro, and of course the better wines, of which there are a handful of other very good producers. But Soalheiro in your region, but Soalheiro, I have to say, I'm going to kind of raise my hand here a little bit and say, early in my career in the 1990s in Chicago, I was discovering so many wines, and there wasn't a lot of Vinho Verde available. There wasn't a lot of Portuguese wines in general, table wines available in the United States at that time. But your wine was, and it was available through one of the better distributors in Chicago, so I had to pay it some attention. And sure enough, it left a good mark on me early on. And so when I had the opportunity to taste multiple vintages over the years of your wine, I said, okay, this is a very consistently good producer making a wine that is singularly apart from these other wines of the region. So again, the work that your father had applied early on was a great signpost for the region, which has progressed since those days.
Yeah, and then it's very important because economically, Alvarinho grape is very important for not the carbon footprint, but social footprint of the grape. And in fact, this grape variety is very linked to the terroir, to our land, to our people. I usually say that terroir is not only the climate conditions that we have in some place, but it's also the people that live in these locations.
Absolutely.
And the people that make this wine what he is nowadays. Maybe someone with 70 years old that lives in the vineyard know more about Alvarinho that many of the people that drink it in the world. And our main objective in Soalheiro is that we can put more close these people that knows the region, that knows the land, with the people that really consume the wine and have pleasure with Alvarinho.
And how is Alvarino reflected in other aspects of your Minho regional culture? Its arts, its kitchen, the personality of the people.
Yeah, you know, it's very curious because many times we forget that because we are more inland and our gastronomy is more based on pork meat and very fat meat, in fact, linked to our traditional red Vinho Verde, very colorated one. But we forget that we have more than 200 kilometers of Atlantic, and we have the best fish and the best seafood. I don't want to give high expectations from people that visit Portugal, but you need to taste it. We have really very, very good fish and very good seafood.
Yes.
And this, with our kind of wines, is perfect. Then Minho is not only the mountains, not only a natural park that is so beautiful. It's not only the continental part, more inland. It's also the Atlantic, very adapted to very nice beach. Of course, a little more cold than Algarve, because Algarve is the south, a little more Atlantic, more warm, but very, very pleasant and good seafood fish.
Well, on that note, I have to tell you, Luís, I haven't been raised in the eating of eels. However, I've been lucky enough to enjoy in different European locations very well prepared, regionally specific eel dishes. And one of the two best I ever had was not in France. It was not in some other country you might recognize for good eel. One of them was in Germany when I lived along the Mosel River. And the other was in my visit to your region. One of your colleagues took me out for lunch, and I had a very traditional eel stew. Now, mind you, it was not designed to go with the whites of the area. It was more designed to go with the red Vinho Verde. But it was an amazing...
Lambrea.
Yes, Lambrea. Yes, thank you. It was an amazing dish in a very traditional small restaurant. And it was an actually exquisite rendition of eel, not something people eat every day here in the United States.
David, you know, it's amazing because in the past we don't have sparkling. We began making sparkling in 1995. Then it's not a very, very old kind of wine in our area. But nowadays we discovered that sparkling is perfect for Lambrea and for this fat food that we have in the region, and in fact, sparkling classic method fermentation in bottle is growing a lot in the region, mostly for Portuguese consumers because the quantity is not so high, but it's the kind of taste that people don't have in the past. And then a little substitution of the red wine that sometimes it's very hard to drink it because it's very strong. I love it, okay, but I'm local. And the sparkling makes this changing and helps that people enjoy and have pleasure with fat gastronomy.
I understand. You're not exporting your red wine, are you, here to the U.S.?
We know.
I didn't think.
We
are you exporting your Espumosa?
Yeah.
Good.
Yes. We have our mineral rosé, but very few quantity.
Okay.
We only begin like 1 year ago, and because we don't have really a lot of bottles, but I think in the future it can be something very, very, very interesting.
I would think so. So when visiting Porto, which is one of my favorite cities in the world, it's only an hour's drive directly north to you. Aside from your lovely wines and your friendly conversation, what should the traveler anticipate when visiting you and I believe your sister at Soalheiro?
Yeah, you can expect always some humor. We love to have the feeling of the people and visitors. But nowadays we have really new facilities. Wine tourism is growing. We have 3 different tasting rooms, very specific, The view is amazing. And we make like real visits to the winery where we can taste, for example, Alvarinho fermented in concrete egg, Alvarinho fermented in glass, Alvarinho fermented in, for example, terracotta, like amphoras, like do the Romans in the past.
Sure.
And this is very important because also we have a lagar, a traditional lagar from the region.
Which is, and for people who don't know, lagar is an open, square, typically square or rectangular, quadrilineal shaped, open vessel in which grapes are pressed, often by feet traditionally, but there are other methods as well. And then the juice finds its way from these pressing areas to the next step in vinification. Okay, please continue.
Then our main objective is we explore the different kinds of winemaking that we know in the world of wine, and we adapt this winemaking to the Alvarinho grape, and then we have more than 14 different kinds of Alvarinho. Also, very important, we develop the visits of the vineyards, and you can visit our organic vineyard and also our new production of herbal tea.
Herbal teas.
Herbal tea from the region. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Most part of the producers in Douro have olive oil because in this region we don't have olive oil, we have the herbal tea. It's almost the same, I'm joking. But it's amazing because you can really feel the fresh region and something very traditional from the land.
That's fantastic. So the visiting traveler who makes the journey north to you can, and by the way, I believe it's mostly a limited access road. It's a highway for most of the way up north, so it's pretty quick going.
But when you go to the winery, you have two towns that it's very important to visit in Portugal. Braga,
yes,
that is very linked with church and with religion, and Guimarães,
yes,
where born in Portugal. Also a beautiful castle and a very small town. You don't forget that in this region we have the only natural park of Portugal, Parque Peneda Gerês. That is awesome. It's amazing.
I wasn't encouraging people to go too fast.
I'm promoting tourism. I'm promoting tourism.
Well, as well you should. You know, a quick look at your website, soalheiro.com or .pt. Will show people that there's many opportunities there for accommodation, for special tastings, and your lovely herb teas, which I was pleasantly surprised to discover. But yes, Braga and Guimarães are very historically significant areas as well for people to stop in, not to slight them. So, you know, Luís, you were born and raised in the vines around wine, but if you hadn't had a life filled with wine, what do you think you would have chosen for your profession or your career or your inspiration?
This is very secret. I cannot tell it.
What can you share with the general? What can you share?
I tell you. No problem. This is like, it is a secret for 1 million people. When I choose winemaking, technology, I want to follow psychology. Then I think it's not very different because now I'm reading a book that is neuroenology, how neuroscience, how you can discover and have pleasure with your brain, and wine helps you on that. In fact, we don't believe that wine is only a drink. We believe that wine is culture. It's something that makes you happy or give you pleasure. And really is something that we don't like people that drink really a lot of alcohol. We want people that enjoy smoothly and rationally a beautiful glass of wine. And it is very important because wine is also a psychology way to relax if you don't drink too much and to enjoy the moment with your friends. Then my other dream, if I came back in the future, maybe I choose psychology and I will see.
Okay. So When we rekindled our acquaintance earlier this year, the fine people at your importer Palm Bay here in the U.S. were kind enough by your request to send me a few bottles, one of which we are not tasting because I just had to taste your old wine, and I enjoyed that over the summer. But we started out with your 2021 entry-level Alvarinho, which I showed here a little while ago. And now we're moving on to something you had made a passing mention of earlier. You said something about granite grown at 400 meters. And now we're tasting this, Matt Rosenberg and I. We're tasting your granite from, I believe it's 2020. So if you could take a little detour into terroir again.
Yeah. In fact, we love innovation. Innovation is what makes a life of a winemaker more happy, less routine. And this wine came from innovation. We make the vineyards in altitude separated, and we discovered that we have more freshness, more acidity. That is something that we can expect, of course, but we don't expect the saltiness. We don't expect that this wine have a special minerality, a special saltiness. And after that, we decided to make a granite as a single wine from these vineyards planted at 400 meters altitude. Really, what I love in granite is that we don't have a so strong aroma like we have in the classic, the other wine that you show as label. And we have a little more shy aroma. The wine is a little more closed. But after in the mouth feeling, it's very gastronomic. It's a wine that makes us have a lot of saline, a lot of enjoy in the mouth feeling, and some saltiness, also very strong, and very vertical. The wine goes until the end of the mouth and disappears. We have a special wine making for this wine. It is not inoculation, no inoculation, and we ferment at 22 degrees, more or less the temperature of red wine fermentation. And we want this because we don't want the intensity in fruit of the Alvarinho. We want some much more, if I say, the complexity and the structure in mouth.
I have to agree with you. You've succeeded. Please continue. I'm sorry. You've succeeded. The wine is not so fruit.
Then
not so fruit
what we make in winery is making like an amplification of what comes from the land. Basically that. And we believe that if we ferment a little high temperature, we make a little the opposite of the white wine that nowadays try to be very, very fruity, and we make a little the opposite.
Again, you've succeeded. The wine is not as obviously fruity as your basic label of it. And by the way, this is 2021. My mistake. It's the same vintage. So yeah, this wine is much more, should we say, long finishing. The wine is still I'm still feeling it in my mouth, and even back in my nasal cavities. There's more going on with this wine than with the previous wine. And I presume this wine is going to be more costly because there's much less of it made, and there's different levels of care that go into it.
It's not a big difference. It's a little more rare, and it's a little more cost. And we really believe that this one is very important for the global changing, global warming. Big lot nowadays. And in fact, when my father began 40 years ago, the brand, 1982, the brand, these vineyards don't exist. These vineyards don't exist. The maximum in altitude in Alvarinho is 200 meters.
So
250 maximum.
So this at 400 meters is still to this day rather unusual.
It's like 20 years phenomenon. Okay, wow. It's 20 years ago only that this began. And these vineyards begin to be not very top quality. Okay, it's in altitude, it's a little more green. Forget, maybe this is not the good area for the vineyard.
You have to learn.
And now we see with this global warming of the climate, this is perfect.
And judging from the name, shall we presume that the soil is a granite soil?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. All the soil in the region is granite, but in the slopes to the mountain, the roots of the vineyard are more in stony part. Then we have more mineral salt, and then this mineral came to the juice, to the berry first, after to the juice and then to the wine. This is why we focus more on the label granite, because then you feel a little more stony than in the classic.
It's just my speculation that older vintages of granite are going to develop more dimensions than even the older vintages of your standard Alvarinho, simply because of how the wine strikes me now when it's very, very young. I have the sense that in 20 years, this wine will be even more layered, more complex than your standard bottling.
Yeah, the pH is lower.
Yep.
The pH is lower. The acidity is a little higher. Then I think the evolution will be more slowly than the classic. I agree.
Okay, well, it's even
We
more.
are good in speculation.
It's more. It's more enticement for people to come to visit you in Portugal. Look, it's an easy ride from New York City or Boston. Plenty of flights flying directly into Lisboa, and it's not all that long to get to Porto and then onwards to you in Mansão. So let me ask you at the end here, please, Luís, can you describe or share a moment in which you were brought to great emotion by wine, either your wine or another wine, or working with wine? Is there something that, in your memory is a highlight that you would like to share with people?
One of these, we have many moments where we feel pleasure with wine.
Yeah.
As you can imagine, we love wine, then it's not difficult. But one special wine make me smile. And because of the target, it's a wine that we make without sulfide, Soalheiro natural. And this wine, the target was to make a wine with the same aromatic profile, not possible the same, but almost the same of the plastic. And the first time I taste this wine and I feel that it's possible, really, I feel something different. I feel inside a little strong happiness, and also the resilience that there is no impossible. We can really keep moving our dreams with wine and make something that in the past maybe a little impossible. Nowadays, we can make it future. And this is what is amazing in wine. This color, how these simple things make you happy, because obviously the tasting will be different from the others.
Wow. Well, thank you for that. So from all the way in the Hudson Valley of New York in the U.S., drinking on the edge, thanks you, Luís Cerdeira of Soalheiro Winery in Portugal. Thank you very much for your time and sharing your lovely wines with us.
Thank you very much.
Great pleasure. Thanks again, Luís.